This is the game I made for the GMTK Game Jam in 2025. Visually, it's one of the simplest things you will probably ever see. And yet, it is one of the best games I have made in the past 10 years. And with it, I'm going to tell you why you are wrong about making games by yourself. I have released 3 games on Steam, and while they all have their problems, I can clearly see how I've improved as a developer and where my strengths and weaknesses are. Art? Not my thing. Couldn't make a good looking character if my life depended on it. You know what? Maybe just shoot me. But if you give me a project and say, make it feel good, I got you. And that is kind of what I want to talk about. So many developers, especially those that are new or those that have never released a game before, they think that everything is about the art, the idea and the art. And to some extent, I can agree. Beautiful games tend to sell better. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is a fantastic looking game, and that is absolutely what caught my attention at first. But if a game is just that, if it has nothing else to it, if it has no meat, or whatever the alternative is for vegetarians, it will not sell. A game needs to be fun. A game needs to feel fun. A great example is platformers. The most important part of making a good platformer is, you guessed it, the platforming. Movement needs to be perfect. Jumping needs to be second nature. If even the slightest thing feels off, it is wrong. You can make your platformer look so incredibly beautiful, have all these insane looking worlds that are immersive and breathtaking, but if it doesn't feel good to traverse them, it's a bad game. And that is why Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is probably Game of the Year, at least to me. I took a bit of a jump there. We're no longer talking about platformers, just so you know. But the game isn't just beautiful. The story is incredible, the cast and the characters are fantastic. But that could have just made for a good movie. But no, when it came down to it, the gameplay felt nice. Everything feels polished. And polish is my main point. My GMTK Gem submission is incredibly simple. The loop, no pun intended. Okay, maybe a little intended. The loop is super basic, but it's fun. Admittedly, I had to change halfway through because it was pretty weak, but in the end, it was fun. You have this core and you have to defend it by rotating around it and destroying enemies. Doing so gives you XP, that gives you skill points, and with those skill points, you can unlock skills to get stronger, faster, or get more health, for example. When you beat a level, you can select loop mode, which plays the exact same level again in the exact same way, and depending on how often you've done loop mode, you get an XP multiplier. But the level is harder because enemies rotate faster, they shoot faster, they have more health, and they're just stronger overall, and if you die, it's permanent, unlike in the regular mode. So it's this risk-reward kind of system that's going on. Clearly, I did not reinvent the wheel, although the game is quite round. But because it's such a simple concept and the scope is so small on purpose, I could spend a lot of time on making my game feel really good. With a fun little twist on the loop and a lot of polish, this is genuinely one of the most fun I've ever had playing one of my own games. And all of that is because of polish. The game looks nice without the CRT lines and the post-processing, maybe not so much. But every single movement, every single interaction, it's responsive. It feels exciting. I used a lot of twinning. A lot. But I also used sound and literally anything else that I could use to make it all feel right. Look, I mentioned the skills in the game, and I visualized them through a skill tree. I have a quest book in my game Skies of Aevium that I used as an example for this skill tree, and now I know how I want to go back and improve that original quest book again. But whenever I unlock a skill, look at what happens. All these other skills pop up. I could just instantly show them and the information that would be known to the player would be the exact same. That wouldn't change. But doing it this way really gives you that feeling of, wow, I did something that had an effect on me, on this game, and on this world. I mean, right? Now I won't do the exact same as Skies of Aevium, but I'll definitely take this with me. My point is, game feel and polish matter. They really make your good idea and your beautiful art great. When everything comes together and your player really gets to experience it, that's when you have a good game. Look, I'm not saying that everything should bounce or move or whatever, but I do think that a lot of people tend to forget how important polish is to a game. And making things bounce or move Those are just two examples of how you can do that. Polish can come in so many ways, so just don't forget about it. Now, of course, you could argue that if you try to polish a turd, you're still going to have a turd, just a more shiny looking turd. And to that I would say, absolutely. But I think that sometimes you have to polish something to see if it's a turd in the first place. Or at least, I do. Of course, this doesn't work for everyone, we all have our own approaches to making games, but I found that this really helps me anyway. So then, why exactly are you wrong about solo development? Well, maybe you're not. But if you neglect making your game feel good, if you put all your focus on mechanics, story, and art, and you then release it because, well, you're doing this all alone after all, you have to get projects done, make money, and move on to the next project, then I think you're wrong. Keep your game small and make them feel great. Successful developers often talk about that last 10 to 20% of your development being so incredibly important, and this is an example of what that is. Allow your game to become good, allow it to become great. But hey, maybe you already know that, or maybe you disagree with me, and that's totally fine. Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to wishlist my game Skies of Aevium on Steam, or support me on Patreon if you want monthly builds, or even a Steam key, like Sharkpuffs and Blake, who I'd like to thank for their incredible support. Alright, subscribe, see you all next time.